Today, we're going to talk about something that's fundamental to our biology: activation. It's the force behind literally everything we do. But it gets a really bad rap, and it's so often confused with things like stress or anxiety.
So, let's just get this straight, right from the get-go. This quote really nails it. We tend to lump all our high energy states together, alertness, excitement, and just label the whole lot anxiety. But the energy itself, that's not the enemy. The real issue, the thing we really need to focus on, is whether that energy is regulated or not.
I really want to hammer this point home. Energy is not the enemy. In fact, activation is absolutely essential. I mean, without it, nothing moves. It's the biological force that gets you out of bed in the morning. It's what helps us create, compete, and connect. It's the engine for pretty much all action. Okay, so what are we actually talking about here? Well, at its core, activation is simply your sympathetic nervous system doing its job. It's a completely normal biological process. It's designed for mobilization, not for malfunction. Think of it as the juice that sharpens your focus and gets your body ready to engage with whatever's happening.
And this right here, this brings us to the absolute core distinction of this whole explainer. It's not a simple case of being calm versus being energized. No, the real difference is whether that energy comes with choice or if it feels more like a compulsion. So, let's break down these two states. On one hand, you have regulated activation. This is energy with choice. It's integrated. You can think of this as the green light state in our nervous system. Then you've got dysregulated activation, and that's energy without choice. It's being driven by our deeper threat systems. This is when our system starts to shift into an orange or even a red light state. What's really important to get here is that this isn't about good versus bad energy. It's about integration versus fragmentation. Let's zoom in on regulated activation for a moment. This is that green light state. It's when you feel motivated, you're focused, you're alert, but you're not alarmed. And the crucial part, your prefrontal cortex, the thinking, planning part of your brain, is still fully online. This means you have access to what we can call the pause button. You have that space to think before you act.
Here's a really common example. Imagine you're about to give a presentation. Your heart's probably beating a bit faster, you feel sharp and on point, but, and this is the key, you can still read the room, you can still think on your feet. That right there, that's regulated activation in action. It's energy that's actually enhancing your performance.
Okay, but what happens when we tip over that edge? Well, that's when we get into dysregulated activation. The traffic light is shifting to orange, maybe even red. Now your amygdala's threat system is starting to take the driver's seat. Your focus narrows into this rigid tunnel vision. You might feel irritable, reactive, your mind is racing, and that crucial ability to pause, it just disappears. And please hear this. This is not a personal failing. It is a biological shift.
So this naturally leads to the question, how much activation is actually good for us? Well, there's a well-known principle in psychology that gives us a great framework for this. We can think of it as a kind of activation curve for our performance.
So at the very bottom of the curve, if there's too little activation, our performance is just flat. We feel unmotivated, disengaged, you just can't bring your A game to the task. Pretty much nothing gets done. Then you've got the sweet spot, the optimal zone. In this space, a moderate amount of activation sharpens our focus, it boosts our motivation, and it leads to peak performance. This is exactly where that regulated green light activation lives. We're energized and we are effective. But what happens if we go beyond that peak? Well, performance starts to drop off, and sharply. Too much activation floods the system, and it literally overwhelms our prefrontal cortex. We just can't think clearly anymore, and our performance takes a nosedive. This is the territory of dysregulation, that red light state.
Okay, so this is all well and good, but how can you actually tell which state you're in at any given moment? Well, here is a simple, very practical tool you can use. It's called the pause test. And it's just 3 quick questions you can ask yourself.
Okay, first question. Check in with your body right now. Can you deliberately, consciously, slow your breathing down? If the answer is yes, that's a really strong sign that your thinking brain is still communicating effectively with your body's basic systems. All right, number 2 is about your focus. Can you choose to move your attention from my voice to something else? Maybe the feeling of your feet on the floor or a sound in the distance. Can you do it voluntarily? Or does your attention feel kind of glued in place? And finally, question number 3.
This is really the ultimate test of regulation. Can you find that space, no matter how small, between an impulse and your response? In other words, can you pause before you speak or act?
So here's the takeaway. If you can honestly answer yes to those 3 questions, you are almost certainly in a state of regulated activation. You have energy with choice. If the answer is no to any of them, it's a pretty good sign you may have shifted into dysregulation. That's energy without choice.
I think this analogy just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? Activation is the fuel. It's what makes the whole thing go. Regulation, that's the steering. It lets you decide where you're going. The goal is never to empty the tank. The goal is to make sure you keep your hands firmly on the wheel.
So here's a little something to take with you into your week. The next time you feel that buzz of energy, and it could be excitement, it could be stress, it could be focus, just take a moment to pause and ask yourself this one simple question. Is this energy with choice or is it without it? Is this energy that I'm directing or is it energy that's directing me? Trust me, the answer makes all the difference.